The sky above the shattered planet glowed a dull red, reflecting off jagged metal spires that pierced the clouds. Kale crouched on the edge of a floating platform, his heart pounding so loudly he thought it might give him away. Below him, a massive arena stretched out, surrounded by hovering alien machines that hummed with energy. And in the center of that arena, chained to the ground by glowing alien technology, was the dragon. It was unlike any creature Kale had ever seen. Its scales shimmered with colors that seemed impossible, shifting between silver, blue, and gold. Its eyes, deep and intelligent, met his across the distance, and for a moment, Kale felt as if the dragon could see into his soul. Every breath it took caused the chains to strain and vibrate, and yet they held it fast. The dragon's wings twitched, desperate to soar, but the alien shackles pulsed with a cold, unyielding force. Kale's hands clenched into fists. He had come to this place with no weapons, no backup, just determination. He could hear the murmurs of the watching crowd, both human and alien, whispering doubts. He cannot break them. It is impossible. Why even try? Each word stung, but it also fueled him. He took a deep breath and stepped closer, feeling a strange energy in the air. It was subtle at first, like a vibration under his skin, but it grew stronger as he approached. The moment Kale placed his hands on the first chain, a shock ran through him. The metal was cold, impossibly heavy, yet he did not pull away. He gritted his teeth and pushed against it with every ounce of strength he had. His muscles burned and sweat stung his eyes, but he did not stop. Something deep inside him, something he had never felt before, told him he could do this. The dragon's eyes seemed to glow brighter as if it recognized a kindred spirit. Minutes passed, or maybe hours, Kale could not tell. The energy around the chains pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Sparks flew where his hands met the metal, and faint cracks appeared along the glowing bars. The spectators gasped, stepping back as the chains shuddered under his grip. Aliens muttered in disbelief, their voices sharp and urgent, warning each other that no human could survive such an attempt. But Kale's mind was clear. He only saw the dragon and the freedom it deserved. He tried to speak to it, though he knew the words might not reach. "Hold on," he whispered, his voice raw. "I will free you." The dragon's eyes blinked slowly, and Kale could almost feel its response. A warmth spread from the dragon into his chest, an invisible connection that gave him strength. The chains creaked and groaned under the pressure, and Kale felt a strange power rising inside him, something he had never known he possessed. A sharp jolt ran through his arms and Kale almost fell, but he gritted his teeth and stayed upright. Energy swirled around his body, bright and blinding, casting long shadows across the arena. The dragon moved its head slightly, watching him, and Kale thought he saw a smile in its eyes. The connection grew stronger, a silent understanding passing between them. Kale realized he was not just pushing against the chains physically. He was pushing with his will, his mind, and something beyond that. The aliens controlling the chains shouted in panic. They activated more machines, sending bolts of energy at Kale, trying to stop him. But the attacks bounced off an invisible barrier around him, shaped by the strange force that now flowed through his body. The crowd fell silent, stunned by what they were witnessing. Human or alien, no one had ever seen such a display of raw will. Kale's breathing was heavy, his muscles screaming in protest, but he did not let go. Every ounce of pain made him stronger. Then, something incredible happened. The chains began to crack, glowing lines spreading like lightning across the metal. Sparks shot into the air, and the ground beneath the dragon trembled. The dragon roared, a sound that shook Kale to his core, yet he felt it as encouragement rather than fear. Its wings twitched violently, straining against the broken links, and Kale could feel the energy of the dragon merging with his own. Together they were stronger than any chain, any machine, any force the aliens could muster. Kale's vision blurred as he pushed even harder. The arena seemed to vanish around him, leaving only him, the dragon, and the chains that no longer felt unbreakable. A final surge of energy erupted from his chest, shooting into the metal like lightning. With a thunderous crack, the first chain shattered, pieces flying into the air. The dragon's roar grew louder, echoing across the platform, and Kale felt a strange exhilaration. The impossible was happening. The alien overseers shouted commands, but their voices were drowned out by the roar of the dragon and the hum of Kale's power. One by one the chains weakened, bending and snapping under the force. Kale felt his body glowing, warm and bright, and for the first time he understood that he was not just a human. He was something more. The energy that had been dormant inside him had awakened, responding to his determination and courage. When the final chain broke, the dragon leaped into the air, its wings unfurling in a magnificent display of color and light. Kale staggered back, exhausted but alive, feeling the energy still coursing through him. The dragon hovered above him for a moment, its eyes locking with his, and Kale knew that a bond had formed that would change everything. The spectators could only stare, speechless, at the sight of a human who had freed a noble dragon with nothing but willpower and courage. Kale fell to his knees, breathing hard, a mixture of fear and awe washing over him. The dragon circled above, its wings casting shadows that danced across the platform. Then, with a sudden motion, it landed in front of him, lowering its massive head so their eyes met once more. Kale reached out, and the dragon touched his hand with its snout. A warm, tingling sensation ran through him, as if the dragon was sharing some secret of the universe. For the first time in his life, Kale understood something important. Strength was not only in the body but in the heart, the mind, and the courage to defy what everyone said was impossible. And as he looked up at the dragon, now free and majestic, he realized this was only the beginning. Something inside him had awakened, a power that neither he nor anyone else could fully understand. And the universe, vast and uncertain, was about to take notice. The arena, the chains, the crowd, all of it seemed distant now. Kale and the dragon were connected by something invisible yet unbreakable. They had faced impossible odds and emerged stronger. And somewhere deep inside him, a spark had been lit, a spark that would grow into a power that could leave the entire universe speechless. Kale stood on the edge of the floating platform, the dragon's massive shadow stretching across him. Its wings beat slowly, sending gusts of wind that rattled the metal floor. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and burning energy from the shattered chains. Kale could still feel the pulse of power in his body, humming through his veins like liquid fire. His hands shook as he lifted them, feeling the invisible force still radiating from him. He did not know what it was or where it came from, only that it had changed him forever. The dragon lowered its head, eyes fixed on Kale with an intensity that made his heart race. Then, as if sensing his uncertainty, it nudged him gently with its snout. A wave of warmth washed over Kale, and he felt the energy in his body react, moving faster, stronger, as if it had been waiting for this moment. His mind, once clouded with doubt, cleared. He could feel the chains breaking in his memory, the roar of the dragon echoing inside him, and something deep within awakened. Suddenly the platform shivered violently. Alien machines that had been hovering silently around the arena reactivated, their weapons locking on Kale and the dragon. Energy beams cut through the air, scorching the platform. Kale felt panic rise, but it was quickly replaced by a strange calm. The energy within him surged, forming a protective shield that shimmered like liquid crystal around his body. The beam struck it and bounced away harmlessly. Kale took a deep breath and realized something shocking. He could control the energy, shape it, and bend it to his will. The dragon roared again and Kale felt a connection deeper than before. The power inside him seemed to respond to the dragon's thoughts, moving with purpose and precision. He raised his hands and the shards of broken chains hovered around him, orbiting in a glowing circle. With a thought, they flew toward the approaching machines, smashing them to pieces. Sparks and smoke filled the air, and the crowd watching from a distance gasped in disbelief. No human had ever shown such control over cosmic energy. Kale's vision blurred as the intensity of the power grew. Strange runes appeared along his arms, glowing faintly in the dim light. They pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, and he instinctively knew that they were part of him now. Each pulse made him stronger, more focused, and more in tune with the dragon. He took a step forward, and the platform beneath him lifted slightly, as if responding to the energy he now commanded. The dragon circled above, wings creating a gale, and Kale realized that together, they could move through the air without effort. The alien overseers appeared on a higher platform, their eyes wide with fear. They shouted commands but their words were meaningless to Kale now. He felt his body vibrating with energy, and each movement sent ripples through the surrounding space. The dragon landed beside him, lowering its head so that its eyes met his. Kale reached out instinctively, and a surge of understanding passed between them. The dragon showed him images in his mind, vast galaxies, ancient battles, and a power that had been hidden within humanity all along, waiting for someone courageous enough to awaken it. Kale's chest glowed as he absorbed the visions. The energy inside him expanded, forming visible streams of light that connected him to the dragon. He lifted his hands again and this time the air itself seemed to bend. The broken metal from the arena floated around him, forming shapes that moved like water. He could feel the gravity of the world responding to him, the energy of the environment bending to his will. It was intoxicating, frightening, and exhilarating all at once. The alien forces fired again, but Kale was no longer afraid. He raised his hands and the energy streams shot out, striking the machines with precision. They exploded in bursts of light and metal, leaving trails of smoke. The spectators could only stare, unable to comprehend what they were witnessing. Kale's body glowed brighter with each pulse, and the dragon nudged him, encouraging him forward. He took a deep breath and realized the truth. The power he had awakened was more than physical strength. It was a force of creation and protection, tied to his courage, his will, and his connection to the dragon. Kale tested it further. He focused on the space around him, and the arena floor lifted, spinning slowly in midair. He laughed, a sound of pure amazement and joy. The dragon mirrored him, and together they moved through the air, rising above the remaining alien forces. The energy around Kale was no longer just a shield, it was a bridge, a link between him, the dragon, and the universe. He could feel the stars themselves responding, distant yet present, waiting for him to take the next step. Then a low hum resonated through the arena. Kale's body glowed so brightly that shadows fled from his feet. The alien overseers froze, fear evident on their faces. They had never seen such power in a human, or in anything. Kale's hands moved instinctively, shaping the energy into a protective barrier around the dragon. Sparks and light shot outward, creating a dome that no alien weapon could penetrate. The dragon roared in triumph, and Kale felt the energy flow even stronger, as if the roar itself fed him. Kale realized he had changed. The boy who had once been unsure, who had approached the dragon with nothing but courage, was now something more. The energy that flowed through him was alive, responsive, and aware. He could sense the dragon's emotions, the fear of the aliens, and even the anticipation of the watching crowd. It was as if the universe had chosen him, and he had answered its call without knowing. As the light around him settled into a steady glow, Kale looked at the dragon. Its eyes were filled with respect, trust, and a quiet joy. For the first time he felt a bond so strong it could not be broken. He did not yet understand the full extent of his power, but he knew that together he and the dragon could overcome anything. The arena, the chains, the machines, they were no longer threats. They were reminders of what had awakened inside him, a force that could change everything. Kale took a deep breath, feeling the energy hum through his body like a living pulse. The dragon nudged him once more, and he knew the next step was coming. The universe was waiting for him to rise, to face challenges far greater than a single arena or a single battle. He was no longer just human. He was the awakening, the connection, the spark that could leave the stars themselves in awe. The dragon stretched its wings, and Kale felt the power respond, lifting him effortlessly. Together, they hovered above the arena, glowing against the dark red sky. Below them, the remaining aliens trembled, powerless against what they could not understand. Kale looked down at his hands, glowing with energy, and smiled. This was only the beginning. Something inside him had awakened, something extraordinary. And the universe, vast and silent, was about to take notice. The arena shook violently as Kale and the dragon hovered above the shattered ground. Broken chains sparkled like tiny stars around them, remnants of what had once held the noble dragon captive. Kale's heart raced, but this time it was not fear, it was determination. He could feel the energy pulsing through him, guiding him, shaping him. The dragon flapped its massive wings, creating gusts that lifted debris and sent sparks flying. The air hummed with power, a living force that seemed to respond to Kale's every thought. Below them, alien machines scrambled, their weapons locking on. But Kale no longer hesitated. He raised his hands, and the streams of energy around him shot outward like invisible fists. They struck the machines, tearing them apart with precision. Sparks and metal rained down onto the platform, and the spectators gasped, unable to believe what they were seeing. Kale's aura glowed brighter with each movement, a radiant shield protecting both him and the dragon. The crowd fell silent, their previous doubts replaced by awe. The dragon leaned closer, and Kale felt the energy between them tighten like a cord. He could sense the dragon's thoughts, its desire to escape, to soar freely above the world. Kale responded instinctively, pushing his power outward to lift the arena floor itself. Slowly the platform rose, shaking off the remnants of debris, creating a path upward. Together, Kale and the dragon began to ascend, leaving the alien forces scrambling below. The wind whipped around him, and Kale laughed, a sound of pure exhilaration. He had never felt so alive. The alien overseers shouted, their voices sharp and panicked. They activated larger weapons, beams of energy cutting through the sky like sharp knives. Kale raised his hands and the beams bent away from him, deflected by the invisible currents he now controlled. The dragon let out a roar that shook the floating platforms, scattering smaller machines like leaves in a storm. Kale felt the power surge again, stronger and sharper, as if the dragon's presence amplified it. Together they were unstoppable. Kale tested his power further. He focused on the energy around the arena and felt it respond like water to a stone. Metal debris lifted, spinning in orbit around him and the dragon. He could bend gravity, shift space slightly, and even move obstacles without touching them. It was exhilarating, almost frightening, but Kale felt in control. The dragon circled him, wings slicing the wind, and Kale realized that together, they could rise above the arena, escape and disappear into the sky. He turned toward the hovering walls of the arena. They were massive, made of alien metal that glowed faintly with power. Kale concentrated, and the energy around him stretched outward, pressing against the walls. They shivered, cracks spreading across the surface. The overseers screamed orders, but Kale ignored them. He could feel the dragon's excitement, its trust in him, and he pushed harder. With a final surge, the wall shattered, falling away in a storm of sparks and metal fragments. A clear path opened into the sky. The wind roared in Kale's ears as he moved toward it, the dragon gliding beside him. Below, the alien machines were destroyed or scattered, unable to stop them. Kale felt the energy of the arena, the dragon and himself merge into one unstoppable force. The platform beneath them shook, and then, as if released from a heavy weight, it fell into the abyss, leaving only Kale and the dragon hovering above the world. The vast sky stretched endlessly before them, red and orange from the planet's fading light. Kale looked at the dragon, and it met his gaze with a spark of pride. The dragon's wings beat with power, and Kale felt himself lifted effortlessly. He realized he could fly alongside the dragon, his energy forming a bridge between them and the air itself. They rose higher, past the shattered towers, past the hovering machines, until the arena was a distant memory. The alien overseers shouted in disbelief, but they could not follow. Kale's power had become a force beyond their comprehension. As they climbed, Kale sensed something new, something within himself that had not awakened until this moment. He could feel the universe around him, the faint hum of stars in the distance, and the energy of life itself. The dragon moved closer, nudging him with its snout, and images filled Kale's mind. Stars, planets, and civilizations far away. The dragon communicated not with words but with thought, showing him visions of places they could reach together, of dangers they might face, and of a purpose greater than either of them. The duo rose above the atmosphere, the horizon stretching endlessly before them. Kale felt the power within him solidify, forming a constant presence that he could control. He could sense the dragon's heartbeat, its thoughts, and even the anticipation of the universe waiting for them. Together they were no longer simply human and dragon, they were something new, a bond of energy, courage, and will that could overcome anything. Suddenly, a bright pulse of light appeared in the distance, a massive alien ship moving to intercept them. Kale did not hesitate. He raised his hands, feeling the energy respond instantly. Streams of power shot outward, bending the very air in front of him. The ship's weapons fired, but the beams twisted and faltered, unable to strike him or the dragon. Kale felt exhilaration knowing he could protect the dragon and himself. The ship veered away, realizing it could not match their power. The dragon roared triumphantly, wings slicing through the upper atmosphere. Kale matched its movement effortlessly, feeling the thrill of flight, the freedom of escape, and the strength of his awakened energy. The shattered planet below seemed smaller now, insignificant compared to the vast sky and the universe beyond. For the first time, Kale understood the truth. He was no longer limited by human strength or fear. He had awakened something far greater, something that could change the course of history. As they soared, Kale looked at the horizon and felt a sense of calm. The battle in the arena was over, but the universe was vast, full of challenges and mysteries waiting to be discovered. The dragon glanced at him and Kale smiled, realizing their journey had only just begun. Together they could face anything. The energy that flowed through him was now steady, powerful, and alive. The escape was complete, and the world, the stars, and the endless skies awaited them. Kale took a deep breath, feeling the wind rush past him, and knew that the next steps would be even more dangerous, more thrilling, and more important. But for now, he and the dragon flew freely, connected by a bond no chain could ever break. The universe was watching and they were ready. Kale and the dragon soared through the dark expanse of space, leaving the shattered planet far behind. Stars stretched endlessly around them, glittering like distant fires. Kale's heart raced with anticipation. He had felt the power inside him grow with each moment, and now he knew the ultimate challenge awaited. Far ahead, a massive structure floated like a fortress, a gleaming alien stronghold pulsing with energy. At its center, the Overseer waited, a being of immense power who had crafted the chains that had bound the noble dragon. The dragon circled Kale, wings slicing through the cold void of space. Kale could feel its thoughts, caution mixed with determination. The Overseer was dangerous, far beyond any ordinary enemy, but Kale felt no fear. The energy within him hummed like a living force, responding to his courage. He raised his hands instinctively, testing the streams of power that flowed through him. The fortress shimmered in response, as if aware that someone extraordinary had arrived. As they approached, the Overseer appeared at the center of the fortress, a towering figure cloaked in shimmering light. Its eyes glowed with intelligence and malice, and its voice echoed across the void, deep and commanding. "You should have stayed on your broken little planet, human," it said, its tone dripping with contempt. "No one can challenge me and no one can free my prisoners. The dragon is mine, and so are you if you try to resist." Kale did not reply. Instead, he focused, feeling the dragon's energy align with his own. The streams of power around him grew brighter, spinning like molten fire. Sparks of cosmic light formed around his hands, ready to strike. The dragon roared, wings flaring, and Kale felt a surge of courage unlike anything before. He realized that fear no longer controlled him. Determination and the bond with the dragon had awakened something greater. The Overseer raised a hand and massive beams of energy shot toward Kale. They twisted and crackled like lightning, aiming to crush him before he could reach the fortress. But Kale's body glowed and he raised his hands. The beams bent, diverted by the invisible currents of his power. The energy flowed through him, shaping itself into shields and barriers that protected both him and the dragon. The Overseer's eyes widened in surprise. No human, or any creature, had ever deflected its attacks. Kale's confidence grew. He pushed forward, feeling the energy respond to every thought. The fortress trembled as he drew closer. The Overseer lashed out again, summoning massive constructs of metal and light to block their path. Kale laughed quietly. He lifted his hands and the shards of debris from destroyed arenas and machines spun around him, forming a storm of controlled energy. The constructs shattered, struck down by the force of his will. The dragon's wings beat faster, creating gusts that flung pieces of the fortress aside. The Overseer's voice grew sharp and angry. "You dare challenge me? You are nothing." But Kale's thoughts were clear, focused entirely on the dragon and the energy flowing through him. He realized that his power was not just physical, it was connected to courage, trust, and the bond between him and the dragon. He could sense the Overseer's attacks before they arrived, bending and shaping the energy to counter them effortlessly. The alien's confidence faltered, replaced by something closer to fear. They reached the heart of the fortress. The Overseer hovered above a massive platform, its energy radiating like a sun. It unleashed a blast meant to destroy them instantly. Kale raised his hands, and the energy around him exploded outward in a dazzling shield. The force of the blast pushed back, shaking the dragon's wings, but Kale held firm. Light and sparks filled the area, and the sound of energy clashing reverberated across space. Kale could feel the power inside him grow stronger, feeding on the challenge, feeding on the courage that had awakened with the dragon. The dragon roared again, and Kale instinctively sent a stream of energy toward the Overseer. It struck like a wave, powerful enough to crack the alien's defenses. The Overseer stumbled, eyes wide in disbelief. Kale smiled, realizing that the bond he shared with the dragon allowed him to channel something no ordinary being could. The alien's attacks became slower, less precise, and Kale pushed forward, his energy flowing like a river of light and heat. The battle raged, energy colliding with energy, sparks and beams cutting through the void. Kale focused entirely on his courage, his will, and the connection with the dragon. Slowly he forced the Overseer backward, breaking through the alien's barriers and defenses. The dragon joined the attack, breathing streams of radiant fire that shimmered like molten stars. Together, human and dragon became a single force, unstoppable and powerful beyond imagination. Kale felt the final surge of energy rise within him. He closed his eyes for a moment, centering himself. The bond with the dragon pulsed, a rhythm he could feel in every nerve. With a shout, he unleashed the combined force, a blast of energy that struck the Overseer directly. The alien cried out, the power too strong to resist, and its massive form shattered into streams of light, scattering into the void. The fortress trembled, collapsing around them, but Kale and the dragon remained untouched, rising above the ruins. Silence followed. The void was empty, save for the two of them hovering above the broken fortress. Kale's body still glowed faintly, energy coursing through him like fire in a river. The dragon's eyes met his, filled with respect, trust, and quiet triumph. Kale realized that he had faced the impossible and emerged victorious, not through strength alone, but through courage, determination, and the bond he shared with the dragon. Kale looked out into the stars, the endless expanse stretching before him. The Overseer was defeated, but the universe was vast and full of challenges yet to come. The power inside him was no longer a mystery, it was a force he could control, a force connected to courage, connection, and will. The dragon nudged him, wings beating softly as if to remind him that they were partners, not just in battle but in whatever lay ahead. For the first time Kale understood the truth. Strength alone did not make a hero. It was courage, will, and the ability to stand against impossible odds that defined greatness. And now, with the noble dragon by his side, Kale was no longer just a human. He was a force the universe would remember. Together, they floated above the ruins of the fortress, ready to face whatever challenges the stars might hold. The victory was theirs, but the journey was far from over. Kale's energy hummed, alive and responsive, the bond with the dragon stronger than ever. He knew that their next step would test him in ways he could not yet imagine, but he was ready. The universe, vast and infinite, awaited, and Kale was no longer just a participant. He was a catalyst, a spark, a force that could leave the stars itself in awe. Kale and the dragon hovered above the ruins of the alien fortress, the stars stretching endlessly around them. The void was quiet, almost peaceful, as if the universe itself paused to watch. Kale's body still glowed faintly, energy humming through him, steady and alive. The dragon's eyes met his, calm and wise, filled with trust and respect. For the first time, Kale felt the weight of what had happened. He had faced impossible odds, freed the noble dragon, and defeated the Overseer. But now, a new understanding came to him. Their journey was not just about survival, it was about legacy. The dragon nudged Kale gently, sending a pulse of warmth through him. Through this silent connection, Kale understood that they were not alone. Across the galaxies, other dragons had been chained, other civilizations oppressed by forces like the Overseer. The energy within him pulsed again, stronger this time, not just with power but with purpose. He realized that he could inspire others, that humans and dragons, united by courage and will, could change the course of the universe itself. Kale stretched out his hands, and the energy flowed outward in streams of light, radiating across the void. Sparks shimmered like stars, carrying with them a message that could not be ignored. The scattered alien forces below cowered, unsure what they were witnessing. Kale felt no fear. The power inside him was now steady, balanced by courage, trust, and the bond with the dragon. It was a force that no weapon could break, no machine could contain. They were unstoppable, not through violence alone but through the sheer strength of will. The dragon roared softly, a sound that carried through the vacuum like a vibration of life itself. Kale felt the energy within him resonate with the roar, expanding outward, reaching distant worlds. He imagined the creatures who had suffered under tyranny, the ones who had seen hope fade, and he realized that their courage could awaken in others. The dragon circled him, wings slicing the starlight, and Kale understood that together, they had created more than freedom, they had sparked possibility. As they flew, distant planets began to glow faintly, as if responding to the energy they emitted. Kale felt it, not just as power but as recognition, a connection to the living universe. Every pulse of energy was a signal. Humans could rise beyond what anyone believed possible. The dragon's scales shimmered, reflecting the light of distant suns, and Kale felt pride mixed with humility. He was not the only one who had changed. The dragon had grown too, their bond forging something extraordinary, something lasting. Far below, survivors from the arena and other worlds watched in awe. Whispers spread quickly across planets. A human had freed the noble dragon, had survived the Overseer, had awakened a power that defied understanding. Kale's name was not yet known, but the story would travel faster than light. Across the stars, civilizations would hear and hope would return. People would see that courage, will, and determination were more powerful than chains, more powerful than fear. Kale had become a symbol, a living legend. The dragon hovered beside him and Kale reached out. Its snout met his hand, warm and real, and Kale felt the energy connect once more. Through this bond he could sense the dragon's thoughts, pride, trust, and a quiet joy. Kale realized that the bond they shared was not just for battle. It was for guidance, for hope, for a future where humans and dragons could face the universe together. He smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility settle comfortably on his shoulders. They had changed the present and now they would shape the future. Suddenly, a distant flash of light appeared, a signal from another dragon chained on a remote world. Kale did not hesitate. He extended his hands and the energy pulsed outward, reaching across the void. The dragon beside him felt it too, responding with a roar of acknowledgement. Together they would go, traveling across the galaxies, freeing those in need, inspiring civilizations, and leaving a legacy that no one could forget. The universe was vast, but Kale no longer felt small. He was part of something greater, a force that could change history. Kale took a deep breath, feeling the stars around him like a living presence. The power that had awakened within him was no longer just his own. It belonged to humanity, to the dragon, and to the hope they now carried across the galaxies. He looked at the dragon, eyes shining with determination, and knew that together they could face any challenge. No chain was unbreakable. No enemy was too powerful. And no darkness could extinguish the spark they had lit. As they soared through the endless sky, Kale's energy left trails of light behind, painting the void with radiant streaks. Each pulse of light was a message. Courage, will, and connection could overcome anything. Worlds that had once trembled in fear now watched in awe, understanding that humans were no longer powerless. They could rise, they could fight, and they could inspire. Kale had not just defeated the Overseer, he had awakened a force that would echo through time and space. The dragon's wings beat rhythmically, carrying them higher, faster, across the glittering expanse. Kale felt a sense of peace mixed with exhilaration. The universe was vast, full of mysteries and dangers, but also full of life waiting to be freed, civilizations waiting to awaken. He had started as a single human facing impossible chains, and now he was a beacon, a spark that could ignite courage in every corner of the stars. The bond between him and the dragon was unbreakable, and together, they would shape a new era. Finally, they paused above a glowing planet, distant and untouched, bathed in starlight. Kale looked down and felt the weight of possibility settle over him. The dragon nudged him, wings spreading wide, and Kale understood fully. This was not the end of their journey. It was the beginning of a legacy. A legacy that would stun the universe, inspire courage, and remind all who lived that even the smallest spark of hope could ignite the stars. Kale smiled, the energy inside him calm but alive, a force of courage, will, and determination. The dragon's eyes met his, and in that gaze Kale saw the future. Endless adventures, countless lives touched, and a universe forever changed by the courage of a human who had dared to break the chains. Together they soared into the starlit sky, leaving trails of radiant light behind them, a symbol of hope, power, and a legacy that would never be forgotten.